I'm always so happy when we start the podcast, Graham. I really am. How are you, Graham?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
Yes. So welcome to the Mind Management Mentors podcast. Now, we've changed the title, Graham. Let's be honest. We've changed it to the Mind Management Mentors podcast. You're going to see the branding change on that, obviously. But today, we've talked about we're not life coaches, we're life changers. Because I think there's a difference. And I think we had to establish that, didn't we?
Yeah, and there's a difference between life coaching and mind management coaching. All of that, isn't there? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely different. And
it's next level stuff.
Yeah, of course it is. Absolutely. Then we had the how to be a successful coach.
Yeah.
And we dropped some nuggets in there. Honestly, some lovely comments from a lot of the people saying we really appreciated that. So we wanted to talk about today is why does accountability scare coaches?
Yeah, and I think we could expand that to why does accountability scare people in general?
In people in general, why does accountability scare us? And I've got a lot to say about this. I know you have as well, but I remember
You've got a lot to say about everything.
We do, in all fairness. But I remember I was down at a conference in Newcastle, and the opening speech was, and I'd love to be able to reference the lady in case you ever saw this, because it was very good, because it was like all mouth, no trousers. All mouth, no trousers. Why does accountability scare people? Why does it have to be a fearful thing and not a positive thing of, oh no, we'll hold you accountable to this, and this is the outcome? So it's not a fear-based thing. It's like, I will tell, the first information I'll tell absolutely everyone, Graham, is I would not be here today as a coach without my accountability group that started, and we started a simple process of turn up every day with a win, and what did you do to move your business forward? 2 minutes. That's how we started. That's how I started before, just after I met you. We had a little breakfast club, accountability, and I could not, to myself, because we'd made that little deal within ourselves, I couldn't not turn up to that meeting every morning, which was 7 a.m., and not say I did 2 minutes to my business moving forward. I'd have been devastated with myself.
Yeah.
I don't like excuses. So I will absolutely say, I hope Jane gets to listen to this, but Jane and I started a little accountability group, and that's what moved. There was other things, but that was the turning up at 7 o'clock every morning for half an hour and saying, right, this is what I did, this is what I'm doing, sharing our wins, and then moving forward. That was what won. That was it.
Yeah. I think I find it really interesting you say accountability is not about fear.
No.
See, I think the lack of accountability is exactly about fear. There's no difference to us not moving forward, of us setting a goal and then not going and achieving it, to us wanting to be accountable or thinking about accountability and running away from it. To me, it is all fear-based, because if we are held accountable, whether that's by somebody else, by an accountability group like you had, or a coach, or my wife is my accountability partner because she kicks my butt every time I even think about not doing what I should be doing. But if we don't have that accountability group and we try and hold ourselves accountable, but we don't, there's a fear base. The reason we stop ourselves is fear, isn't it?
Yeah.
We say I'm going to be accountable by doing that, and then I don't do it, therefore I'm not accountable. I haven't done it because of fear. And fear stops us from doing virtually everything that we stop ourselves from doing. It's, we have all these stories about, oh, well, I didn't have the time, or I didn't have the money, or I didn't have this, and I didn't have that. It's very, very rarely that it's a resource problem, but it is more likely to be a resourcefulness problem.
Ooh.
There you go. I'll drop the mic straight away. Bang. There you go.
Oh, it's not a resource problem. It's a resourcefulness problem.
Absolutely. We blame resources, we blame time, we blame money, we blame knowledge, we blame experience, whatever it is. But the truth is, if we've stopped ourselves, it's because we can't find it within us to go and do that. So it's not a resource problem. It's not anything to do with a resource. And that the reason we can't find it within us is because it's fearful, it's scary, it's perceived to be painful, and therefore we don't do it. So there you go. I'll throw that bomb out there, and I'll let you knock it out of the park.
It's not. You're right. And do you know?
I know.
You know what? Actually, we've created a fear. So the story that we create, the language of fear that we have, and with the excuses that we create, and I've still got some. I still listen to. We always call ourselves out on them, don't we, Graham? All the time.
Absolutely, all the time.
And that's because we have an accountability with each other. I think that's another reason why we've grown so fast and so quickly with things. Is because like right, we've got to have accountability with each other. Right, you're doing this, I'm doing this. It was. We create a story which is so much more painful than the actual fear.
Yeah.
So the fear of not being good enough, or the fear of judgment, or the fear of looking silly, whatever, imposter syndrome, whatever label you want to put on it, it's a fear that we've probably created or misunderstood our past givings. Because I've had, and I was, do you know, it was when I was driving to the gym this morning, I remember that I've actually had more fun and I've learned more things from the mistakes that I've made. They don't feel good in the moment, but a day later when you look back at it and go, do you know, actually now I've got an experience that I can learn from. Because if there's ever that belief that, oh, Cuddy and Graham have it easy. Nope. It's a lie. Nope. It's an absolute lie. Yes. Or all these coaches that are now successful. No.
They worked their tails off and they were accountable to themselves so that they took the actions they needed to be.
Yeah.
Now, the reason the accountability thing came up at the end of the last podcast about how, you know, the secrets of a successful coach is because to be successful, you need to hold yourself accountable. And even if you have an accountability group, you still have to hold yourself accountable to go to that accountability group, or to go to that accountability group with what you having done what you said you were going to do.
Yep.
Because you could still turn up there and go, yeah, I ran out of time yesterday, or something else cropped up. You could still find a story. You could be going to an accountability group, but not being accountable. So I'm gonna drop another mic point. You ready? 2 in the first few minutes here. So here's the truth about accountability. Accountability is nothing more than the ability to account for yourself.
What little hair I've got on the back of my head standing up. Yeah. Do it again.
Accountability is nothing more than the ability to account for yourself. Because you can have an accountability partner or an accountability group or an accountability coach or whatever you want to call them, but you still don't follow through unless you are accountable to you first.
Yeah.
The ability to account for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the truth. If you can't account for yourself and your actions, then you're not holding yourself accountable and you're not going to move forward in life, whether that's as a coach or anything else.
Do you know the amount of times when I'm having a wobble or I've been misdirected into another area of something else, it's because I'm not holding myself accountable. And I'll even say that with dieting. I'll even use dieting as an example, because dieting, and I know we shouldn't use the word dieting, but losing weight is always going to be one of my accountability of my excuses. And I listen to my excuse and I'm like, you know, you can't keep saying it, but I will keep saying it for a little bit longer while I focus on something else. Because I always remember something from Brendan Burchard was, when you're a creative, you're going to have 1,001 ideas, and you think, oh, I'm a creative, I can do 1,000 things at once. And what we end up doing is 1,000 things not very good.
Yep.
And then there's no payoff for 1,000 things. And you're like, well, what's the point of me doing this? Correct. And I've always found that when I was focused on losing weight, I lost weight. Focused on building a business, we built a business. I needed that focus on one thing, make that successful, then move on to the other 100. And I remember that was one of those things when I was deciding what kind of a coach I wanted to be, or what job I wanted to do after leaving Royal Caribbean. I was like, oh well, I could do this and I can do this, because I know deep down inside I know that we've got the experience in his life to take that experience and become a coach, because I'd learned that a long time ago. And I realized my experience at Royal Caribbean, I was like, that's a powerful experience. So I can work with executives, I can work with like I say, all the professionals that I've worked with in the past, because I've got that experience. Experience will always trump, but that experience came from accountability. And I held myself accountable to, I had monkey mind, did quite well. Then we started priority mind management. We're doing fantastic with that. And then I'm sure there'll be something else that comes along and things like that. And then we've got the training company as well. So the accountability of finishing something and then moving on to the next, I think is a powerful thing for people, especially creatives. I think you would agree, coaches come from a creative background, or they've got 101 ideas, but they want to really tap into that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Most coaches that I've met have a creative side to them.
Yeah.
And so we do get those 100, 1,000 ideas all the time. Honestly, I could sit here and write pages worth of ideas.
Yeah.
Not all of them good, most of them just crazy, but I could do that. But what you're absolutely right in what you're saying. If you don't focus, if you split and go, oh, I'm going to do a bit of this and a bit of that as a coach, and a bit of this and a bit of that, or a bit of this, those 5 things, 10 things, you only do to 15, 20%.
Yeah.
If you pick 1 or 2 things, you're more likely to do them to 70 or 80% and therefore be more successful. And there's a reason I say 70 or 80%, because very rarely will anybody do something to 100%. There's a big thing around, you should focus on one thing and master it, and then move on to something else and master that. Well, the truth is, mastery is a lifetime project. You don't ever master something. But what you can do is get really, really good at something. So you're at 80%, which is really, really good. And then while keeping that up, move on and do 80% of that, and then move on to 80% of that. If you try and do all of those at once, you're going to do 20%. And I think that's a lot of coaches' problems, and it's a lot of people's problems in lives. You look at entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have all these ideas about how to be an entrepreneur and try to start 10 things at once. And then when it doesn't succeed, they go and try and start another 10 things. And it doesn't work. What you do is you focus, as you said, in one area.
Yeah.
Make that work first. Then you can move on to another area. And that's how life is built,
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about accountability. It was so simple what we did with the original group that we had. And I always remember when some people came and said, "Oh, I didn't make it. I couldn't find a win yesterday." I'm like, "There's always a win. There's always a win." Oh, well, I made one post on Instagram, or I made one post. Just find that one win, because if you can start finding one win in a day where you don't think you've had a win, and you can call it gratitude, but you can reframe it however you want. That's when you start thinking, "Oh, actually, I've done more than." So, the premise of looking back on those days where you don't think you've made any achievements, or you don't think you've moved forward, and I'm like, did I really hold myself accountable? Then you look back and you think, oh, hang on a minute. Look what we've got now. Look what I've been able to create in such a short amount of time. And it's like, well, we've done that in that 6 months. What's going to happen in the next 3 years? So we get incredibly, and we see this a lot with coaches. In all fairness, we do see this a lot with coaches of, oh, well, now I've got this skill. Now I'm going to go on and learn another skill. And then I'm going to go on and I'm going to go and learn another skill before I actually start coaching. And if they just held themselves accountable to, well, look, I'm going to use this skill that I've got now till it becomes easy. I'll not say easy, but easier to use those skills. Because I remember when I did the training with you, I had clients and I was like, oh, I'll try that with my client tomorrow. I know where we are. I know what we need to use. And I was like, made a breakthrough, it was like, yeah. So I'd started not mastering the skill, but mastering understanding how I create the conversations, how I use the tools that we have to get the client moving forward where they want to. And it's funny because I use accountability and I've said that in my chemistry calls with my clients. And I'm like, look, it's the same speech I keep repeating, but there's a reason I keep repeating this. when I do a chemistry call with a client, I tell them, and for anyone that's listening, this is something that you really should be using, is to make sure that you are the right fit for that client. You tell them who you are as a coach.
Absolutely.
And I always say, I'm not a therapist. I am not a counselor. I am a mind management coach, and I can help you get from there to there. But you're going to have to do the work. And I will hold you accountable to that.
Yeah.
And there is some people that, no, it's not for me. Perfect. You might need a counselor. You might need therapy. That's not a problem. That's brilliant. I will hold you accountable. We set a plan in place. And the ones that get back and text you in the middle of the week, oh my God, I've done it. And I remember one of my first clients, I held even to share something for anyone that's watching or listening. I held one of my clients who had severe anxiety. I created a bigger fear than what the fear was. And I remember I remember speaking to her. She was only a young lady. And I said, do you buy lottery tickets? She was like, no, I'm not wasting my money on lottery tickets. I'm never going to win on a lottery ticket. I went, you have more chance of winning a lottery ticket than what your fear is that's creating your anxiety. So we knew what the belief was. We went straight in for the jugular. I said, so I'm going to hold you accountable. When you feel like you don't want to do what you've got to do because the anxiety is there, I need you to go and buy a lottery ticket. She went, I'm not buying a lottery ticket. She goes, that'll cost me a fortune because I'm going to have to buy a lottery ticket 17 times in a week, right? And I said, that's all I'm going to hold you accountable to. Every time you don't do what you think the anxiety is stopping you doing because you think the outcome is going to be X, Y, and Z, buy a lottery ticket because you have a better chance of winning the lottery than you have of what you believe is going to happen. Those pesky little beliefs. She came back to the session last week, the week after. She went, I don't have anxiety anymore. And I didn't buy a lottery ticket. Thank you very much, guys. I didn't buy a lottery ticket. She went, I was so adamant I'm not buying a lottery ticket that I had to. And it was just a simple accountability thing with me as a mind management coach. This young lady answering a phone with social anxiety. She went, I couldn't bring myself to buy a lottery ticket. That was the power of accountability with a client.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, particularly with coaches, they focus, we tend to be bigger picture thinkers.
Yeah.
Because we're creative, we're bigger picture. And that's scary sometimes.
Yeah.
So I always think that it's best to set big goals, but with little steps.
Yeah.
Because if you set a big goal and all you focus on is that big goal, scary, never going to get there. Oh my God, I've got so much work to do. But if you have that big goal and you have that broken down into 100 or 500 little steps, that the little steps are nice and achievable, then you can go and do them. And I just think that's how you walk through accountability. Is if your step for the day is to create a blog post, easy, or create a LinkedIn post or a Facebook post, that's easy. If your step for the day is to go to a networking meeting, relatively easy.
Yeah.
You can go and do it, or go to an online networking meeting. Or if your step for the day is to contact that person that you know you should have been contacting, but you haven't done yet, it's easy. If you try to do all of those all at once, or focus on all of those all at once, then that 20% we were talking about becomes 2 or 3%, and the big picture looks overwhelming. It's almost like it's fallen on your face and you can't see anything. Whereas if you push the big picture away, so that it's away in the distance and you're just focusing on the little wins at the front, or the little actions at the front, all of a sudden accountability becomes easy because it's not scary to do those little steps. And I think as coaches, and a lot of people in life will see the big picture, or the big problem that they need to solve, or the big issue in their lives, and therefore tackling it seems really hard. But if you break it down into little steps, then all of a sudden it doesn't seem so hard. It might still take quite a while to get to where you want to go. And let's be honest, we've both had this conversation before, that you and I are pretty impatient type people. We want to be successful yesterday. But we know
everybody does. Yeah.
But we know when we've got our sensible, rational heads on,
Yep.
that's not achievable. But it is achievable if we keep taking those steps every single day, that we know we're going to get there. And that's what people miss. When there's this big problem in life, we get overwhelmed by it. But actually, if we broke that problem down into smaller steps, then it's not as overwhelming, and therefore we can keep ourselves accountable to resolve that problem. And that's actually what, as coaches, we can do with our clients. Because if our clients come to us and they've got this big problem, whatever it may be, we can say, okay, let's just park that problem over there. Where do you want to get to? Oh, okay, over there. And then we help them figure out how to get there. And how to get there is a set of small steps to get between point A and point B.
Yeah.
That's what coaching is, right?
Yeah. I always reminded Gary V. I do watch a lot of Gary V, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk in America is great. And he's always like practice patience, patient panda. He's got like a little card that's patience panda. So to explain patience is if we attach our emotional gratitude and to the goal, and we don't achieve his goal, we get deflated. And we forget that if you attach your happiness and whatever positive emotion to the baby step, you start enjoying the baby steps, then the goal's just a payoff.
Yeah.
Because the winning's not the goal. The winning is turning up every day for 2 minutes. That's the win. And I think people they just see it the wrong way around. And you've got to start. This is the whole premise of our logo, of what we do, is if you plant the seeds now, impatience pops up, and we're like, well, I planted the seed yesterday. How come I've not got a fully bloomed tree growing out there for me? Because I planted the seed. You know, it takes 6 months, it takes 8 months, it takes 2 years, but the seeds you plant now, and you hold yourself accountable to those. I'm holding myself accountable to 2 minutes a day now. Even when I don't want to, and motivation is going to be gone because no one's reacted to one of my posts, one of my LinkedIn posts. I didn't get any feedback. Nobody watched my podcast. Nobody listened to my podcast. What's the point? That's the first question that pops up. The point is, you did your 2 minutes a day, and those 2 minutes a day start creating the bigger picture. You can't get the bigger picture without the accountability of the 2 minutes a day. And that's why I think accountability is powerful and not scary. Because I'm not holding myself accountable to the £1 million, the £10 million. I'm holding myself accountable to the 2 minutes a day that knows eventually I will get there. I don't think you can fail if you don't stop. I don't think you can fail if you don't stop.
Absolutely.
But if we attach our happiness and emotions to, or our self-worth to the £1 million goal, and we don't get the £1 million goal, you're constantly going to feel deflated. You're constantly going to say, what's the point? That's not the point. The point is down here at the 2 minutes. I've been talking to a couple of sports people about it. I'm like, what makes you a winner is when you train when you don't want to train. You're not in the place to want to train. You're not in the place to go and lift weights, to go for a walk. It's when you go for a walk, when you're not in the mood for it, because you held yourself accountable. That's what makes you a winner.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power of accountability, which is why I think accountability is a powerful thing. Because if you don't do the 2 minutes a day, you don't get. Everybody focuses on, I'm going to work really hard for 48 hours non-stop, and I'm going to put all that effort in. And then I'm not going to go back to it for 6 months because I was exhausted. It's the all or nothing concept, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to lose motivation. You're going to lose the effort. You're going to lose because people are not going to respond. They're not going to, when you start creating conversations, I always say conversations create clients. I don't think you have to be too smart. I don't think you have to go over the top with social media. We do a little bit of social media, but nothing too much. Conversations. I've always appreciated a conversation to meet that person. I prefer word of mouth. For helping people get clients, I prefer word of mouth. That's something I've always preferred. I've enjoyed working with that person. I'd recommend you to someone else. That's kind of what I've always liked about it. And that's an accountability thing. It's another part of the accountability. somebody has held me accountable to their recommendation.
Yeah.
Wow, I did well for them. Now I've got to do well for the next person. Again, it's refocusing on what accountability is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the what you said about attaching gratitude to that big goal is the wrong thing. Attaching gratitude and joy to achieving those small things is absolutely the right thing to do, because then you'll go and achieve them. But the problem with it, the other problem with attaching gratitude to that big goal is that we then attach a thought of, if that doesn't happen, if I fail at that big goal, how am I going to feel? Now, I look at that a different way. If you can detach all of your emotions from that big goal and just go at it, then you're more likely to achieve it. Let's say that you want 20 clients a month if you're a coach, or you want to earn £500,000 a year, whatever it may be. If you attach a fear to that of, if I don't achieve that, how will I feel? Well, I'll feel let down, I'll feel embarrassed, I'll feel this, I'll feel a loss of this, I fear this, whatever it may be. If you don't achieve that, you're going to attach those and you're not going to go and achieve them, because there's that fear attached to not achieving them. Yeah. However, if you detach all emotions from it, including the failure, and then you aim bigger and detach all the emotions from that, well, the likelihood you're going to achieve your first goal is much higher. If you want 20 clients, but you aim at 100, but you don't have any attachment to failing, if you don't reach that 100, no problem. But if you get 50, well, then you've more than doubled what you actually wanted in the first place. If you want £500,000 to earn in a year and you aim at 1 million, but you don't hit 1 million, but you're not disappointed because you've detached all the emotion from it. But if you hit 750k, well, you're 250k above where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Big goals, little actions.
Yeah.
While you were talking, my brain went, there's a great metaphor for this. So if you get a camera, I've got a phone, got a camera on it. Cameras these days, I don't know how many million megapixels or whatever the hell they are. But a pixel is a little dot. Without each of those little dots, there's not a picture. And if you've ever seen a picture where there's a few little pixels missing, you know those pixels are missing, right?
Yeah.
So those are little actions to create the bigger picture. Every single one of them's needed. How's that for a metaphor?
Do you know what I'm going to think now is that now me and you are working together, I'm going to like, right, what pixel have we missed? What pixel have we missed? What pixel are we missing for the bigger picture? I mean, that's actually a really cool way for us to move the business even more forward. Is what, because I always come to you with like, look, I think looking back, we have to look at this could have happened better, this could have happened, this could have. That's holding us accountable, right? That's holding us accountable. And I think a lot of people are scared to look back. They're scared to make a mistake.
Yeah.
They're scared to make a mistake, so they don't want to move forward. It's easier to not move forward than make a mistake. And I think
whoa. The perception is it's easier to not move forward than make a mistake.
Correct. Perception.
Yeah. Sorry.
And that's bullshit.
It is bullshit, absolutely.
It is absolutely
because it's more painful sitting where you are for the rest of your life,
yes,
than going out and trying to be who you want to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's extremely good. So I have started saying that with a lot of my introductory chats. Look, mind management works.
Yeah.
And I told you about this. I had a client and I said, look, the beauty of mind management is you can deal with the problem. You've got to heal it to feel it. You've got to heal it, to feel it, to heal it. However you want to say it. And I could see when I was talking to this person, I'm like, the summer isn't, yeah. Are you ready to deal? No, not yet. I said, no, don't, let's not work together until you're ready to deal with it. I said, because we can't keep dodging the pain point. I do take people to the pain point when they're ready. They've made their peace with it. They're like, right, what is it I need to do? And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's perfect. That's probably my version of mind management. Everybody will have a different version of what their mind management tools are. But that's what it is for me, is we can deal with it. We can get you moving forward and let's go.
And I think that accountability is akin to a challenge, isn't it? So you all say that to your clients. I always say to my clients, look, one things I am going to do is I am going to challenge you. If you come up with a story, if you come up with some bull, I am going to challenge you as to whether that's real or not. That's just what I do. If people don't want to be challenged, then I'm like you. I say, okay, maybe it's best we don't work together. There's other coaches, counselors, therapists. You might want to work with them. There's one of my clients that I work with on a regular basis, and I am always. We've got to the stage now where she knows the challenge is coming, so I'll just sit there and go, and she'll go, "Oh God," and I'll say, "Is that real?" And she'll tell me to get stuff, swear at me, whatever, and then she'll go, "No, it's not real, is it?" That's accountability. Yeah. Accountability is challenging your own stuff.
Beliefs.
Yeah, beliefs.
Perspective.
Yeah, a lot. It's challenging your own stuff. It's about saying, okay, I did that. It didn't work. What did I do wrong and what do I need to improve on? That's accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability is saying, I was supposed to do that today and I didn't do it. What stopped me? What will make me do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's accountability. Accountability isn't just turning up to a coach or an accountability group or an accountability partner and go, I've done this, I said I was going to, and I've done this. That's one side of accountability. The other side of accountability is figuring out, like you said, looking back and seeing what mistakes we've made and how we can change that for the future. That's accountability. Accountability is saying, that's a story. Stop telling that BS. Let's move on. That challenge is accountability.
So, the challenge, I did this when COVID first hit. And through COVID, I did lose a lot of weight. And I'm going to tell everyone why. Because I know my training changed. I started doing strongman training. But I think TikTok was quite new then. I did a TikTok video and I nearly knocked myself out with my breasts, with my own chest. I nearly gave myself whiplash doing a dance, right? And I remember I also had a really dodgy moustache because COVID had hit and I thought, I'm going to grow a moustache. It was horrible. And I remember doing the dance to Blinded by the Lights. I forgot what the dance was. And I was at a pub. And I sat on the couch and COVID had happened. COVID said, right, we're on lockdown. Lockdowns are happening. And I said, it was calling out my own BS, my own belief system. I heard myself say, oh, I can't lose weight now because the gym's closed. The gym's closed down. I got a text message. Sorry, but the gym's got to close because of COVID. So I sat on the couch and went, oh, I can't lose weight now because the gyms are closed. And it took me about 3 to 5 minutes to just go. I was just about to text my wife and say, oh, I can't lose weight now because the gym's closed. And I just was like, no, it's not real. No, you don't need a gym to lose weight. You've got to be able to say, hold myself accountable. And then I found tires. Remember, I probably told the story. I found tires and started doing tire workouts in my garden. And I sorted out the calories, the deficit. And I just remember, if you can start, for any coach that's moving forward, start listening to your own BS, your belief system. Start listening to your own BS and go, is that real? Because I can tell you now, if you can coach yourself, you'll be a better coach for everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't be one of those coaches, and we know there. Don't be one of those coaches that likes to coach everybody else but doesn't sit on the mantle themselves.
Absolutely, 100%. You've got to be able to challenge yourself. That's the whole accountability part. If you're saying, "Oh, I can coach all these people," but you're not actively trying to resolve your own stuff, and our own stuff will never get resolved. In total, we've all got our issues, we've all got our problems, we've all got that internal chatter, we've all got our own belief systems, and we've all got our own fears. But if we're working on them, we're moving forwards. But there will always be coaches who are out there saying, "Oh yeah, I can help everybody else," but aren't actively working on themselves. And that's about an accountability as well, because you're not being accountable to yourself. It's just like there are coaches out there, and if you're one of them, I kind of apologize, but I want to call you out on your own belief systems. There are coaches out there, as you rightly said, about who learn something and say, oh, I just need to learn something else before I coach somebody. And then I just need to learn something. They become course addicts. And I'm going to hold my hand up.
I was going to say, I know your story. You were a course addict.
I was a course addict. I absolutely was a course addict. I took every course, and these are the days before like the low price online pre-recorded courses. So I would go out, take a course. If I could afford it, pay for it. If not, it would go on a credit card, pay the credit card off as quickly as I could, go on another course. I went on life coaching courses, NLP courses, meditation, the works. And there was one course that I wanted to get on. And I had it in my head that when I've done that course, I'll be ready. And then the opportunity came and the course opened up that I could get onto it and I could afford to go onto it. So I went onto it and I finished it all. And when I finished it, I said, I think I just need to learn a bit more about NLP. And just did exactly the same again. And it wasn't until finally I stopped and went, hang on a second. I thought that was the course. I thought if I did that course, I would be ready. And then it clicked. It's not about a course as to whether you're ready. It's about to knowing in here and in here that you're ready. That's the truth. It's not about another course. And I know that I have loads of courses on the Priority Academy, and I want everybody to go and buy all of them, but it won't actually serve you to go and buy all of them. At least do one and get started using that first.
Yes.
The one thing I do talk about in all of my courses is you need to go out and practice the skills you've learned.
Yeah.
So don't just go from one course to the next course without practicing those skills first and getting out and using them, because you might just find you're already ready.
Yes.
And then you can add another tool if you want to.
Absolutely.
But if you're out there already using one tool, it's easy to add another tool into it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because people
say the knowledge, then you can add knowledge. You're not compounding. I think using that right there, we get a lot of coaches right now are getting too much information. They're getting overwhelmed and thinking, I can't start.
Yeah. Because which tool do I use in which situation?
What do I do first? Do I do mindfulness? Do I do EFT tapping? Do I do mind management? Do I do therapy? Do I do counseling? Do I do trauma informed? No. You do one and you go out and get a client to that model. Then when that's exactly what I want to quote somebody. And I hope Natalia's listening to this, because you were talking about not moving forward. And it's the name of the podcast I did with Natalia. It's okay to tiptoe. At least you're moving forward.
Nice.
Tiptoes, tippy toes, moving forward is much
More
better than,
yeah.
It's the small. I love that. And I said to Natalia, when I use that, I'll absolutely accredit Natalia with that. It's the name of a podcast I've done with Natalia, one of the priority mind management coaches.
Absolutely. So I'm going to put that into your world, if you like. So you like your strongman training.
Yes.
So you go and for weeks on weeks, let's say you're doing the bench press. So you laid there on your back, you're giving it some of that, and you press up until you can do, I don't know. What can you bench press at the moment? Roughly?
About 130 to 140 kilos for about 3, 4, or 5 things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's say you can do 140 kilos.
Yeah.
And you bench press it and you put it back on and you celebrate. Do you then go and put 200 on there, son? I'm going for it. Because you'll be like, it's like that, and it'll be.
I'll be honest, Graham.
Knowing you would.
That, and I shouldn't have done it.
Exactly. But that's no different, is it? It's no different than going out and trying a new course, or running a mile and thinking the next day you can run 10. It's just not. That's not how it works. Nope. That's not how life works. Nope. So stop doing it. Get one, get practice, get ready for it, use it. It is in a skill for coaches if you want, and then go and learn something else. Do the bench press for 140 and then work up to 150 and work up to 160. Do the mile run, work up to 2 miles, 3 miles, 10 miles.
And it's the same thing for losing weight. Lose a pound. Lose 1 pound of fat and just redo that 50 times.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you're not going to lose the 50 pounds of fat in the first week of dieting. And then you attach your self-worth to the scales.
Yeah.
I've not been on the scales for a while, but my chins and my chest is always what lets me know when I need to start dropping down. I did get on the scales recently, and I've not put any weight on, so I was quite surprised. Because so I was quite impressed with that. So I've not got as much to lose as I need to for the next competition, which is a good thing. But I think, if anything, if you want to take it, because there was something I was going to lead into, and I'm like, do you know what? That's the next podcast. The next podcast was going to be about. Actually, you were talking. So I'll come back to that. Because I was going to start talking about that, but we're moving away from accountability. If you want to be a successful mind management coach or coach, hold yourself accountable. Just hold yourself accountable. Have some non-negotiables. Have a non-negotiable with you. My non-negotiable was, I'm going to move my business 2 minutes a day forward.
Yeah.
And I got that from a Tony Robbins free seminar that somebody forced me to go on to. And I remember she was only a young girl, about 24 years old. She'd made a phenomenal, and she went, just do 2 minutes a day. That's all we did. On the days you don't want to do it, do 2 minutes a day. And I swear by the 2 minutes a day. But hold yourself. You've got to have some non-negotiables. Some non-negotiables for me that we had, and I always bring myself back to, is do something you don't like. So at 5 o'clock this morning, I was in cold water. It was raining, it was drizzling. I was shivering before I got in, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, this is my non-negotiable. I've got to get in cold water. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Mental, possibly. Love it. Other non-negotiables, when somebody tries to steal your shine brighter.
Absolutely.
Shine brighter.
Yeah.
People are going to try and steal your shine.
Yeah.
Shine brighter. That's now a new non-negotiable for me. Shine brighter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's a non-negotiable for you, Graham?
So non-negotiable for me is looking after my wife. Yeah. Most people know that she has a spinal injury. She's my primary focus every day. I have to take care of Paula every day. From a business point of view, that on the days that I feel great, then the non-negotiables are do what I've planned to do, because I plan my week. And that's a non-negotiable for me as well, is I plan my week. Every Friday afternoon, I sit and I block out sections of time every day for the next week. However, I know that if one of those days I am feeling absolutely rubbish, shattered, whatever it is, the non-negotiable for that day will be to do at least one thing towards the business. Whether that's a LinkedIn post, a blog post, or whatever it may be, I will do at least one thing. Because we all feel rubbish at some point. We all get poorly. We all, get colds or flus, or just generally feel drained. Yeah. But the truth is, on those days, if you can still do just one thing, then on the days you feel great, you will feel great about doing a whole bunch more. So that's a non-negotiable for me. One thing every day.
And we're different on that, because that's when I get my exhaustion with the kidneys and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not getting off the couch. So you've got to create your own non-negotiables.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to create your own non-negotiables. Absolutely. Yeah. I think this has been a powerful chat about accountability.
I think so. So if you were to leave the folks with one final lasting thought on accountability, what would it be?
Hold yourself accountable for a positive. What's the word I'm looking for after that? Hold yourself accountable for a positive outcome. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. Always remember that. Keep it simple, stupid. I think a lot of people don't like how simple I keep it, but it has to be simple for me to understand it, because I have got like a childlike fascination with the world. Keep it simple. Hold yourself accountable, and listen to your own BS. Belief systems.
Nice. Well, it has been an awesome chat on accountability. And so what's going to be the next podcast then? Because you've just said you've had the thought about it. So let's tell people what it is.
It's completely escaped my mind. I think one of the hardest. I've got an idea, because we've got a few.
Yeah, we've got
mind management is not a coping mechanism. It's a solution.
Yep.
I think that's a powerful one.
Yep.
I think another one of our possibilities is anxiety is a symptom.
Yep.
Not the problem. I think that's a good one for us. And I think calling out your own BS. And another one that I was thinking about is what was it I was thinking about now? I can't, it's escaped my mind, but I'm like, that's what we need to talk about next for the Mind Management Mentor podcast.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much if you're watching in or listening in, and we'll see you, or you'll hear us and see us for another podcast really soon. Cuddy, it's been a pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graham Nichols, the man, the myth, the legend that is Graham Nichols. We'll see you on the next podcast. Don't forget, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And as always, big love from Cuddy and Graham.